Welcome to the second part of the Conference of Underground and LucidDream. It's so great to share it and expand it. So in the last chapter it was about there's a dimensional shift coming from 3 dimensions to 5 dimensions. What also includes that all artificial products of our civilization will disintegrate into their components. And your body-owned spaceship will sooner or later be activated anyway. It's called Merkabah. Merkabah decrypted. Some additions on the topic Merkabah, because it's the most brilliant applied knowledge that exists. It's said that the Air Force can see activated Merkabah fields. They're electromagnetic strong. Hundreds of people of all colors and cultures are teaching with lightning eyes how to activate your Merkabah and how everything is possible with it. See in YouTube. The rediscovered knowledge about Merkabah is very old. It is known to the Sufi, to many secret circles, in the Bible as Ezekiel's moving wheel, and was found in the ancient pyramids. It is the unleashed secret of flower of life. In one of the last breaths of the Merkabah activation, the star tetrahedrons are accelerated to 9/10 of the speed of light, while you're located in the sacred heart space, connected to the torus fields of Earth and Universe, while prana-breathing. Electrons around atoms also move with 9/10 of light speed. Your frequency spectrum is thus activated for higher harmonics, higher dimensions. That's simply what higher dimensions are. They are higher harmonics on a vibrating string. With a 90-degree rotation in the consciousness, you can then leave the 3-dimensional reality and its physics. That's why it is told that all UFOs made a 90-degree turn before leaving. Paranormal abilities such as going through walls or dissolving and appearing elsewhere are simply applications of the Merkabah. If you have found out how Merkabah works, it is maintained by conscious breathing instead of many meditations. Meditation is just the way to remember, the door opener, like DMT for the swarm. So is Merkabah for God's math and geometry. And I even made a call and asked someone who knows very well about Merkabah, because this is what I would guess. A high body geometry position is helpful in meditating until you have a feeling for the fields and Merkabah. Yet, the fields can be practiced and activated in all body postures. That is so great and important if you like to dance, if you like to meditate while bicycling. You can do it everywhere, anytime. And it is said that females that have given birth to a child maybe already activated their Merkabah without knowing, because mothers experience unconditional love, and everyone can activate it just by remembering. Love is not just an emotion, but all that we are. As the ocean is ocean, and water that had been taken away is still ocean. Love can shape different patterns of vibration. In a refinement of the Merkabah technique, these allow the ascension into a stargate, as well as the activation of the Metamorphosis to your 4- and 5-dimensional DNA. Fine structure of love. The excited states of love become the most important possession in the higher dimensions. Here we have the picture from Melchizedek's book, where you have David's star with 6 poles that can be female or male pattern. Female: love, truth, beauty, trust, harmony, peace. Male: love, wisdom, truth, compassion, unity, humility. Take time to feel each of these states, creating its own vibration pattern. And if you do this within the Merkaba meditation, you can enter the Orion stargate, literally in the universe. In the book is also shown how our chakras form the star tetrahedron, where they are located, and the connection to music tones, to piano notes. Who can functionalize the Merkaba can span it over whole districts, so that there no bomb will fall. One can produce clones of his Merkaba field over kilometer-large areas. They remain stable when they are kept alive, like the body's own Merkaba, by conscious breathing and meditation. How to be creator. If you want to go deeper, look at the YouTube channel of Lily Rose Day. Lily researches and summarizes the findings of many teachers. Connects what I wished for during my physics studies. Here some slides from her video Amplitude Astrology are cut into, as its minimum maximum revealing. Here you learn the understanding of our fractal holographic universe, how the phase-conjugation of a wave creates its perfect echo backwards in phase. This understanding unlocks how resonant brainwave states, alpha, beta, gamma and so on, can create the implosive focus of deep spiritual perception and psychokinesis. If you manage to phase conjugate your brain and heart waves, you create vector equilibrium, what is the ultimative 0 point of creation. She remembers that we even have a vector equilibrium at our eyeballs. The picture we see is flipped upside down in our heads, what is called the camera obscura effect. And she shows how the periodic sine wave is connected to all cycles we know, from astrology to the Merkaba, which is phase conjugated when the motor is working. In order to get an elegant acceleration of the Merkaba-Vehicle in this 34:21 spin ratio, a small physical hysteresis is helpful. This is the delay behavior of your tetrahedrons swirling around. It's like learning to dance, just multidimensional. And so simple and great, the healing power of love is decoded, because it's an instant longitudinal wave. Longitudinal means not going up and down, but sidewards moving, like a snake. I quote Santos Bonacci: "My heart is connected to your heart, longitudinal. Everything is. This is how we are connected to God. All energy is connected here, longitudinal. Here there is no time dilation. This is the forever now. So love is infinite. And finally, a great table, what melts all words mankind ever used to describe the same in the end. Call it alchemy, call it religion, call it science, give me names, it's always the same. The pattern of three. Trivial and genius. And here is one of the most important informations you can hear within a few minutes. It's Pandora's box. You just need to link it. That is the difference between separation and unity. We almost all breathe flat, while we could cosmic breath, yogi breath, Prana-Breath. I call it also ocean breath. Prana is Sanskrit and means life force or vital principle. It's useful to know because as soon as you activated the Merkabah, you just need to breathe consciously instead of meditating every day for it. The living breath is probably the sparkle of creation. This breath feels a little tiring because it affects muscles we have never exercised. As soon as you are more and more consciously breathing, you become fitter and it gets easier and works almost automatically. Quoted from the book The Ancient Secret of Flower of Life, Volume 2 by Melchizedek. And he quoted a book that is more than 100 years old. The following instructions for a complete yogic breath are from Science of Breath, a complete manual of the Oriental breathing philosophy of physical, mental, psychic and spiritual development by Yogi Ramachakra in 1904. Breathing through the nostrils. Inhale steadily, first filling the lower part of the lungs, which is accomplished by bringing into play the diaphragm, while descending exerts a gentle pressure on the abdominal organs, pushing forward the front walls of the abdomen. Then fill tidal part of the lungs, pushing out the lower ribs, breastbone and chest. Then fill the higher portion of the lungs, producing the upper chest, thus lifting the chest, including the upper 6 or 7 pairs of ribs. At first reading, it may appear that this breath consists of 3 distinct movements. This, however, is not the correct idea. The inhalation is continuous. The entire chest cavity, from the lowered diaphragm to the highest point of the chest in the region of the collarbone, being expanded with a uniform movement. Avoid a jerky series of inhalation and strive to attain a steady, continuous action. Practice will soon overcome the tendency to divide the inhalation into 3 movements and will result in a uniform, conscious breath. You will be able to complete the inhalation in a few seconds, after a little practice. Exhale quite slowly, holding the chest in a firm position and drawing the abdomen in a little, and lifting it upwards slowly as the air leaves the lungs. Note: some teachers reverse this part by holding the abdomen in a firm position and relaxing the chest. Either way is fine. When the air is entirely exhaled, relax the chest and abdomen. A little practice will render this part of the exercise easy, and the movement, once acquired, will be afterward performed almost automatically. here's the very useful picture from the book Ancient Secret of Flow of Life shown. The prana, the spiral breath, and the connection to the geometry. Understand God's math. The metaspace is just geometry and is simple. How the numbers 1 to 9 are enough to create the whole universe is revealed in Vortex-Math, discovered by Marco Rodin. Why the numbers 3, 6, 9 are special, and why Nikola Tesla designated their understanding as a key to universe. It is said that he even used sometimes to run 3 times around a block before he could enter the door. From the simple vortex math emerges the star tetrahedron and the ascension to the higher dimensions, just by mathematics. In addition to the knowledge about the flower of life, the magic of Merkabah is decoded. So here's linked to Randy Powell's intro to Vortex-Math in YouTube. And also very interesting, the relation of Vortex-Math to acupuncture, body electromagnetism, Tesla and free energy. To be found in YouTube under 2016 369, the year I finally got math. Vortex chakras. On the page consciousvortex.com, you learn how vortex math is connected to consciousness and chakras. Because your body is built up exactly according to this geometry. This is a key information. When you understand the fields and the math operations, you can consciously perform them in meditation, connected with breathing, and crack it. There is also always an intuitive way. See Sacred Space of the Heart Female Way, or Unity Breath Meditation. Merkaba Vortex Key to Universe. It's unleashed. Combine the knowledge about Merkaba and Vortex Math, practiced in meditation or psychedelic experience. Vortex Math equals God's math. Every child can understand it. It decodes the free energy as well as the function of Merkaba in metaspace, converging into a singularity. Converge means infinitely coming closer. This is how it feels. You can exactly depict it in pictures and with numbers. Free energy is proven and applied. 2 years ago, mathematicians started a campaign called Randy's Donuts. And it was addressed also to President Obama, because they have not only decrypted free energy, but also provide the how-to-do-it-yourself instruction. Shape wires according to vortex design. And all the energy problems of the world are solved. This is all presented in the movie Randy's Donuts from 2014, to be found on YouTube. And here comes a shortcut from the trailer.
My name is Randy Powell. I'm a senior researcher at the Vortex-based Mathematics project, which was founded by my teacher Marco Rodin. What began for me as a journey of personal discovery has now blossomed into a worldwide consortium of talented individuals interested in participating in what could be one of the greatest mathematical discoveries of our time and a turning point for our civilization. What we have is the grand unified field theory. With it, you can create inexhaustible free energy, end all diseases, produce unlimited food, travel anywhere in the universe, build the ultimate supercomputer, artificial intelligence, and obsolete all existing technology. And with it, you can do all the functions of all the branches of math instantly. It displays a perfect spin symmetry of numbers, forming mirror images just like our two hands, a feat that's baffled countless scientists and mathematicians. When you look at this symbol, you immediately see it's composed of two aspects. One is this lazy 8, or the infinity symbol, and the other is the red pyramid at the top. The infinity symbol is the equation for the physical world we live in. It's a circuit or a pathway of motion. 6 numbers that form a hexagon. Thus, such diverse phenomena as light polarizing, beehives, Saturn's North Pole, and snowflakes are all versions of this hexagon. These shapes form pathways for any matter in motion, which is never straight, but always at an angle. Nothing in the physical world ever moves in a straight line, not a bullet shooting, not lightning coming down out of the sky. Everything is a coil, even a photon coming from a distant star, proving relativity exists. Our body is called this mortal coil. Our DNA is a coil, and it's no coincidence that it matches our equation perfectly. It makes us into a vortex machine that sucks things in at the top and shoots them out at the bottom.
In order for us to embark into a future of a truly sustainable energy efficiency, we need to take into account the torus in particular. Our bodies are toroidal systems, our planet is a toroidal system, and all vortex energy works in the same fashion.
This technology has been around for centuries.
In this demonstration, we're using a 12-volt battery which feeds into a simple circuit that creates a sound frequency. That sound frequency is then fed into the coil, and then it comes out in the form of usable light. Now the important thing here is that we're able to light 98 LEDs at a fraction of the energy consumption that it would normally take to light around 8 LEDs. So we're getting 90 more LEDs for less energy consumption. We stumbled upon the Vortex-Math of Randy Powell and Marco Rodin and began to expand on their concepts.
This technology is not to be privatized or owned by any individual or corporation, but is instead our desire to open source it to the public, and in the process to make a film documenting the construction, the development, and the investigation of both the math and the technology.
So, key to universe. Here I found a maximum informative magic how-to. It is 18 slides of a presentation called Internal Stargates and Vortex-Math, and they can be found now also on the LucidDream homepage. Here some are shown, you may have to stop the video. Going from recreation through coherent crystal breathing to through the eye of the needle, I am, who am I? All explained very well. Am I already 5D? Joke of the wildfire. Why it will happen this year? Because language cannot be forbidden. 5D is a wildfire. Let go fear. During the dimension shift, your thoughts and feelings create literally the reality. Just as fast as fear becomes real, it can also dissolve. That's why meditation is so important. You forget everything and become an ancient being. Love is always 100,000 potent times stronger than darkness. Therefore, Merkabah meditations are a brilliant preparation. I am also new to this topic. Yet, once the heart is activated and the body cleared, the energy field gets visible within the meditations. That is what I can tell. And the third eye equals first eye can suddenly see the universe while your tongue controls the navigation on the map. The higher dimensions are simply overtones you suddenly perceive, because everything is vibe. Workshop in clairvoyance. Effect is like love, is what permeates the dimensions. That's how the seeds spread. Language gets the most dense effect ever. The triggering moment has to do with a critical mass in consciousness. Not the number of souls that are already living 5D, but from hundreds of thousands which are simultaneously in the heart, in the here and now. A maximum synchronicity. Being instead of doing. Your frequency cloud is either chaotic ping pong or harmonic oscillation in sacred geometry. The more awareness about the 5D game board gets public, the more beings with paranormal skills get visible. There will be something what I call guru confusion. Some of the lights of the new age are partly assigned to the dark side. Therefore, here now follows an about the naive energy of light. Light is not to be extinguished anyway. It has already multiplied millions of times. The crystal children carry the highest level of love and harmony within. So we can relax and watch what happens. No one is bad. It's only the stories in our head that we produced. There is no need to worry or confuse. The metamorphosis leads all life into consciousness of unity. That's how reproduction of the whole works. When the Earth's magnetic field drops and the shifting vibrations come, you're likely to lose all memory and maybe feel in danger. Which is ultimately no problem, because also who dies is shifted to 5D and reappears there. No one will get lost. Yet an active Merkabah is useful and a lot of love in your heart. Otherwise, the dimension shift will be bumpy. Some will turn on their Merkabah spontaneously, without even knowing its name, because they just connect into their heart. For over 10 years, the fourth dimension is already interlacing. That's why anomalous things have long been reality. Detoxification is so important. Eat only what has living fine structure, as well as a natural life rhythm without time and dates are useful to activate the pineal gland. Otherwise, the fields may blow you away, and they will certainly come soon. The access to primal information grows super exponentially. Healing no longer only works by herbs and natural medicine, but also through your Merkabah. After a few days, weeks, everyone who is aware can activate 4D. And as soon as you're 5D, you're God, because with this all dimensions are accessible. Circular language. Best movie that draws attention to a circular linguistics in which both forward and backward make equally sense. As an image communication of aliens in the Hollywood film Arrival of 2017. They made us understand 4D. Time is a fractal game board. The movie Arrival, a masterpiece for unified language. And I found out about this movie because Melchizedek refers to it as the movie shows a species with 7 fingers, what is a mathematical result of the other 6 Fibonacci series. Discovery of the century. Subject and object doesn't exist. It's the same. Unity consciousness. In the space of the heart, there is no duality, only unity. Trees have always been connected to unity consciousness of all swarm intelligence. The biologic factors leading to a soon happening metamorphosis are clear. We still have some time. The time stretches until the critical mass of a few 100 million is reached and in harmony. There is no reason to hustle or urge. On the contrary, it gets slower and slower the more you know. Mysteries solved. You find deep scientific insight by Melchizedek's film 2012, Prophecies from the Heart. We are at a critical point in the time period between the ice ages. That's why the shift in consciousness will happen before the Earth naturally gets within 3 days a global average temperature of minus 50 degrees for 90,000 years. This shaked the press some years ago, to be forgotten again. In the movie you are revealed all mathematics and scientific brilliance about the flower of life, as well as the secret on how to create things within the sacred space of your heart. Additionally to the unification of all, it becomes clear why Melchizedek is a fractal similarity mapping of Jesus. Awesome. And here squeezes something into which expands LucidDream. The already finished German version will be also expanded. The awakening story of stories. And I try to be as straight as possible and make not too much side notes. It is expanding, it is exploding in itself, but your mind will do the rest. 3 days ago, I just shared Lily Rose Day, the Merkabah rap meditation I produced out of her video. And that is how the hint arrived to me. It's called Flat Earth. Earth would be no spinning ball in space, but a disk in a dome. First day I spent researching the pro, next day the contra. And I really wanted to leave it out because it leads thousands into calculations and experiments on their own, finding out, and really time-consuming as it draws like a black hole all conspiracy theories in. And LucidDream made its dream up to now without conspiracy theories. So what is this about? For myself, both pictures felt like overlapping realities, where even both could be true, as if it would be two sides of the same coin, called 2D, 3D, disk, sphere. The sphere, as well as the disk, is somehow a nature-owned model. Leaving out polarity and belief, first get a feeling for the geometry of the flat Earth model. Remember, the most beautiful stories unleash in this year of awakening 2017. So right now, middle in the night, I had to move in the tree tent, open sky, under the nightly star in the small forest, to read these lines. Flat Earth. The Earth could be flat. The idea existed since we can think. Ancient cultures used the geocentric picture, to be digged out 2 years ago by Eric Dubay with 200 reasons why. We could live in a NASA photoshopped picture of a spinning ball. We never left Earth. Satellites would be huge communication antenna towers. Antarctica builds a 360-degree ice wall. Sun and moon are spinning above us as spiraling yin-yang. All multidimensional cosmos is within the dome, connected to the tree of life. The Earth would be the biotope around. The Flat Earth map was used for navigation through history. It is the logo of the United Nations. Flight patterns suddenly make much more sense, as well as why we feel nothing of the 100 miles per hour rotating equator. Yet already millions are infected. It is really huge. So Flat Earth gets space. Interestingly, there are brilliant arguments for a spherical as well as a flat Earth. Going into this can be inspiring but also confusing and puzzling, as is of course the biggest information battle in history. There is even a Flat Earth Society organization spreading disinformation, making it a satire. Going into this jungle is time-intensive and builds polarity. So that's not what this information is about. It's about what is helpful for your feeling and when going into meditation. The ascension of the Earth is already going on, through humans in conscious states of love, higher frequencies. You could also be the center of the universe, as man is the measurement of all. A two-dimensional disk can also be a projection plane for the infinite hyperbolic space, as Escher visualized. A disk can also be the linking geometry between your Merkabah star tetrahedron and the cube octahedron containing the whole. Cosmos, Earth, you. Imagine a flat Earth. Flat and spheric image fit together. And we don't need a spinning ball somewhere in the middle of nowhere. The flat Earth lies static within the torus of the whole, the tree of life. The flat Earth is the vector equilibrium of the sphere. I won't go more into arguments, only one more should be enough. It seems that everyone who researches flat Earth or tries to debunk it gets a flat earther. Unlearn and unleash. We have to unlearn a lot, but it goes fast. So it may be helpful to once have seen the pictures of the flat Earth model. For some, deep old feelings and knowings can unleash. As below, so above. Space above the space is filled with water. Just feeling into flat earth next time you go out of the door feels literally grounding instead of a fast rotating spinning ball. Also, the concept of gravity, what science still calls a mystery, gets then optional. Going up and down works also through change in density of fluids, buoyancy, and electromagnetic charge. It has a reason that it showed up, and you will find out. Your heart will know how to deal with it. Flat Earth produces also the best jokes in history. Meanwhile, in Sydney. Meanwhile, at equator. It is really funny because we call the ancient people stupid that believed that you could drop from the border. And now the joke gets in verse. That is how a joke is defined. It is within the folding of the folding, the unfolded. As below, so above. Maybe there's more in it. We all learned the same, we just never questioned it. So before continuing with the next big perspective change I want to share, giant trees and no forests. This is the point where I decided to make a trilogy out of this fifth part, to give the effect space. So no matter what view on the world you have up to now, I share what is inspiring once you question. It could be. If the Earth is static, flat-domed, what are then the stars and planets? What could it mean to live underwater? It resonances in me because it matches with what I see when going into hyperspace, DMT space. When you look at the night sky, the stars connect to sacred geometry of vibrating, moving lights. Twinkling, flickering, color changing, spanning the whole sky. How these star patterns up there can be created out of geometry. Wave in matter. Then the night sky behavior would match to a cosmic symphony within border. Cymatic universe. So to understand what I'm talking about, I just shortcut here the videos into that resonated with me. Link list in description.
It's the form of the yin-yang and the original form of balance. And again, it's the binary code, the 0 and the 1. So according to our ancestors, life lives inside of the egg, not on the surface of the egg. So for people that say, how can the earth be flat when everything is round? The earth is flat, but the cosmos is round. The earth is a flat plane.
Chemiluminescence is the emission of short bursts of light from imploding bubbles in a liquid when excited by sound. To put in simple terms, the energy of a sound wave in a fluid can create flashes of light. Due to sound frequencies, beautiful patterns occur on the surface of an object closely surrounding the sound vibrating medium. Cymatics is vibrational phenomenon, beautiful patterns that are created within water and sand when sound is applied. The stars are full of similar geometric patterns.
The film you're about to see has no characters. If you spare a little of your imagination, it is a film to describe to you the effect of cymatic frequencies on matter.
Other side of our flat plane. These sound waves propagate through the dome and the waters above, where they reflect back as twinkling sonoluminescent lights that we call stars. And we can zero in and see, it looks like these lights are indeed reflecting off water, in a similar fashion that they would on the floor of a pool or ocean. With just a telescope in our backyards, we can see that planets are not as defined as NASA would have us believe. In fact, Venus looks more like a star than a planet, and same with Mars. I'm still figuring out what exactly planets are, but for now we can assume they are created similarly by sonoluminescence. Planets do not twinkle like stars, giving me the impression that they are stronger, more consistent monotone frequencies, therefore appearing more solidified than a star, which represents consistent but oscillating frequencies. This may be the reason why planets do not twinkle and stars do. Through undersea cables, cables connect between the continents. Lighter than air vehicles, high altitude airships, and high altitude platforms are often misperceived as satellites by the public. So at nighttime, when you see one of those moving dots in the sky and believe it to be a satellite, it's actually one of these illuminated balloons. The skies are riddled with these communications technologies, but we are made to believe that they exist beyond our atmosphere. If we are to believe NASA's stories, then here's a question. How do satellites survive the 4,000 degree Fahrenheit temperature in space? So if there is a dome, how are meteorites explained? Debris floats around in the currents of the waters above the dome, occasionally hitting the barrier with enough force to penetrate it. This debris falls to the Earth as meteorites. The composition of meteorites is very similar to that of the rocks and crust found on the ocean floor. In water droplets indoors, it's because rainbows require a mirror, and outside, the dome is acting as this mirror. Like the protocol for making indoor rainbows, our flat Earth has waters above, the waters which come down during the floods, and water on its surface. The dome acts as the mirror in between. The light we see at the center of the Milky Way is emanating from this device. And this thing, this entity if we are to call it that, enters in the dark rift, sending down floodwaters from above. It then
words and going into all of these dumb NASA theories with all of these spooky, crazy planets. You got to think about the creator, y'all. You got to think about it now. The universe they gave us make no sense. Why would the creator put all of these billions and trillions of light years in between us if the creator really loved us? Why would the creator separate us from itself by all of these trillions and trillions of light years that they give us in the glass of water and look at the phenomena that we call a rainbow? The rainbow is the arch of the covenant. Ark of the covenant is really the arch of the covenant. The arch of the sky goddess is nut back. That's the covenant that we are enclosed in this cosmic egg and we are protected.
One of the strangest places on the ocean's floor was only just discovered in the 1990s. I might degree as one of a handful of people to ever see it in person.
Without a doubt, one of the most amazing things that I had ever seen in the bottom of the ocean. It was while filming for Blue Planet. It was in the Gulf of Mexico. And I noticed there's something out in the distance. Couldn't tell exactly what, but it looked like a dark band. And as we approached it, the dark band became a donut. I saw this donut that was black in the center. What the heck is that? And so as we get closer and closer to it, I noticed that the black band had what appeared to be kind of steam over it. And then I looked, and there was water lapping against the shoreline. This band was a ring of mussels. And inside the ring of mussels was a lake. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm already underwater. We went out over the water in this lake and tried to descend in it and bounced off. It was so super saline and dense that the submarine couldn't go down in it. We literally bounced off. And as we bounced off, we sent ripples heading back to the shoreline. It was insane. I've never seen anything.
The dissolved salt makes the water denser. And because it is denser than the water around it, it will settle into the depressions, forming a river or lake. These underwater lakes and rivers can be as small as a few feet across or as large as a few miles long. They're even very similar to lakes and rivers on land, with shorelines, surfaces, even waves.
Okay, so what you're looking at now is the pole beam, the beam that comes from the energy, the source that comes from the North Pole. I've talked about this earlier, about that the North Pole, there's a lot more going on there than what they'll let us know, and this is why they blocked off the North Pole and the South Pole. So at the North Pole is a pyramid or some sort of an object there, and it's the lodestone. It's the magnetic lodestone that is Mount Meru at the center of our Earth, and it is putting out a light source or a power source that's invisible through, and this is what all the symbology of the pyramid is in the pole, in the center pole, and it's putting out all this energy straight up, and it may not be visible light to us when it's coming out of that beam. So as it goes up and hits on a reflector like a disco ball is a great example of it. As it hits on that reflector and is shot parabolically at the edge of the dome, and it sticks to the dome because it's such a bright, powerful source, to us it appears to be a hot, real object, when really it's just the focus.
So, some people have taken images like this and have said, well, what is that second sun doing there? This is not a lens reflection because it's behind the clouds. And people look at this and say, what's going on here? What on earth am I seeing? Well, you're seeing the sun reflect off the dome. And as Job said, that dome is like a molten mirror, beat out. You see, here's another image. People look at this and say, well, what's going on? What am I seeing? And people talk about another planet, Nibiru. You're just seeing the reflection of the sun on the dome. And this is not a lens flare because you see the reflection in the reflection of the water. And people take video footage of things like this and they're astounded. Now, especially in colder areas when there's no moisture in the air, we see this all the time. Now, I've worked in the Mascarene Islands, and during the cyclones, the moisture in the air evaporates. And you see images like this during those periods of the year. And most people look at it and ponder it, but the reality of what it actually is and what they are seeing escapes them. Like the people taking this video, no idea. They just say, wow, it's amazing. Here's people in the Amazon. So obviously after it rained or it's extremely dry in the heat of the day, and they see this and wonder, look at this. While you're seeing the sun reflect off the dome. It's as simple as that.
The moon is right side up, and in the south hemisphere it's upside down, so that's proof that we're on a ball. But as I said, it's not so simple that it's just right side up in one hemisphere, upside down in the other hemisphere, but rather it's always turning, so you can find pictures of it at all inclinations, not just two opposite inclinations. So this is one proof that the moon is not a sphere. They say that the moon's a sphere and it rotates as well as the Earth, but since we only see the one face, their excuse is the moon rotates the opposite direction the Earth does, and it's perfectly synced so that when the Earth is moving and the moon is moving, we never see any other face. So another convenient explanation. But in reality, the reason we never see the dark side of the moon is because it doesn't exist. There isn't another side of the moon. It's just a translucent, it's not densely physical because you can see through it. There's been pictures taken of stars being seen right through the moon. And the Royal Astronomical Society has recorded stars and planets like Jupiter have been seen through the moon. And they're scratching their heads recording this, like wondering what they've seen. And this is on record back in the 1700s up until today. You can see things through the moon. On a clear afternoon, you can see the blue sky through a waxing or waning moon. You'll see part of the moon illuminated, and then part of it you'll see the blue sky right through it.
The Egyptians, Norse, Hindus, Mayans, Incas, Navajos, Hebrews, etc. all knew that the Earth is flat and covered by the firmament, which is basically an impenetrable barrier encapsulating the flat plane. The flat Earth model dominated for thousands of years. It wasn't until 1543 that Nicholas Copernicus, terra firma, the Earth not a planet, proved from scripture, reason, and fact by David Wardlaw Scott, published in 1901, or even Kings Dethroned by Gerard Hickson, published in 1922, where the author details all of the problems with heliocentrism and the mistakes made by people like Copernicus, Einstein, Newton, Kepler, etc. So we see from the beginning of time all the way until the 1900s, the flattened stationary Earth was going strong. In all honesty, flat Earth has never died. But for the sake of this video, we'll say up into the early and mid-1900s. In a magazine from August 1931 called Popular Science, explorer Auguste Piccard went on record stating, "It seemed a flat disk with an upturned edge after ascending 10 miles high on a balloon." 10 miles is only a little over 50,000 feet. Today we have balloons going up to 121,000 plus feet, which is almost 23 miles. And the Earth still shows nothing but flatness. Not to mention, the horizon remains at eye level at that height, something that would not be possible if the Earth was a sphere. Mainstream science says that curvature becomes visible at 35,000 feet. It simply is not so. Now let's run through another timeline, the timeline of trying to hide the flat.
Never look at things in one way for too long. No forests left on Earth. After stumbling over flat Earth, this is the other half of the biggest mind-blowing expansion ever. And everyone can get it and see the correlation. First thing is to realize that there are no real forests left on Earth. The video "No Forest on Flat Earth" in YouTube, unleashed 9 months ago by a Russian guy. Almost no forest is older than 200 years. What we call forests are bushes and undergrowth of what isn't there anymore. Once there were forests of giant trees that were up to 60 kilometers high. None of those trees are left alive, only in form of stones, fossil organic, also called petrified wood. Wood is morphing into stones. This shows the whole Earth's surface in a completely new perspective, as the leftover of what was before the big biblical flood. Many mountains structure hexagonal fibers, depicting their once organic growth. These giant trees are called silicon trees. Is salt a life form? Also, salt seems to grow to a giant life form. See the hexagonal structures in the biggest dried salt lake of the world, Sala de Uyuni, and compare it with coral skeletons that build up on each other on a massive scale of time, creating rich habitat for diverse life. Earth was a fairy tale biomass giant. If the mountains once were forests, then the Earth before we knew it was full of fairy tale forests beyond imagination. Seems like the movie Avatar encodes Earth's history. What we call Earth is a desert in comparison to what was before. We lost almost all atmosphere. The last puzzle piece unfolds in one of the reactions. This movie will make history. It's called Response, Kent Hovind and the Pre-Flood World. Giant trees, giant humans. So as I couldn't tell it better as the video does that flashed me, it is here cut right into LucidDream and opens up.
You ever have those days when you think, why oh why didn't I take the blue pill? No, I did.
I had to throw this on. I am my mind and my heart and everything about it is in the clouds with the trees.
Very, very intriguing, compelling video. I'll give them that.
Bring it down.
think you understood meanings of my words. So, I want you to look at the highest stumps of our planet that were mined like a quarry and were broke by a blast. For example, 3 Everest.
Their damn village happens to be resting on the richest unobtainium deposit within 200 clicks in any direction. I mean, look at all that cheddar.
Morphed into semi-precious stones.
Look at all that cheddar.
There's no green there. They killed their mother. Look, you chose me for something. I will stand and fight. You know I will.
And they've got a new theory now that says maybe a lack of oxygen killed the dinosaurs. A lack of oxygen. Well, they had a big symposium in 1993. A bunch of scientists got together to study the Apatosaurus. And they said, folks, we've got a problem. An 80-foot Apatosaurus had nostrils the same size as a horse. How is an 80-foot animal going to get enough air through nostrils the same size as a horse? Well, apparently they did breathe because bones of dinosaurs are found all over the planet. Even in Antarctica and Alaska. I mean, dinosaurs lived everywhere, okay? So how could an 80-foot animal get enough air? Well, today he probably couldn't. Not to get 80 feet long. You know, when they drill into the amber, how many saw the movie Jurassic Park, you know, where they drilled in to get the mosquito blood out? Sometimes in amber, which is petrified tree sap, they find air bubbles in the amber. When they analyze the air bubbles, they find out they're 50% more oxygen than we have today. Today we're breathing 21% oxygen. Amber bubbles have 32% oxygen. Did you know if you lived in a world with double the air pressure and 50% more oxygen, just breathing would be exciting? If you double the air pressure and increase oxygen, not only does your hemoglobin take on oxygen like it's supposed to, plasma will get oxygen saturated, which means you could run hundreds of miles without getting tired. I think things were a whole lot different. In the pre-flood world, if they had to double the air pressure and increased oxygen, you would just be full of energy all the time. There's a guy in Japan started raising tomato plants with pressurized carbon dioxide. You know, plants breathe CO2, not oxygen. His tomato plant grew faster than normal. When it was 2 years old, it was 16 feet tall and produced 900 tomatoes. They moved it to a shopping center and built scaffolding to hold the branches up. They said, you know, this thing might produce 10,000 tomatoes. This is one tomato plant. It ended up growing 40 feet tall and producing 15,000 tomatoes off one plant. It was a cherry tomato plant, but tomatoes were coming off baseball size off of his. But I debated Jeannie Scott in a debate, and she said, Dr. Hovind, there are 80 separate layers of coal in the Midwest. She's right. She said, if you look at the amount of coal in the world today, the entire biomass, all the plants of the world today, could not possibly be converted to that much fossil fuel. She's right again. There is so much coal in the world that if you took every tree and blade of grass and bush and squished it, you couldn't make all the coal. There are enormous volumes of coal in the earth. I said, Jeannie, you are right. She said, well, don't you see, Hovind, there had to be an enormous amount of time to lay down all the coal seams. Oh, no, 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 right there she's wrong. You see, she's looking at today's world and assuming that's how it's always been. The coal we find in the ground today is a result of that flood, which buried the world before the flood, when they had lots more trees. There's a coal mine in Montana that is 10,000 square miles of coal up to 200 feet thick. Someone told me a few months ago they've now found a seam 300 feet thick. That's a lot of coal. A lot of coal. And sometimes in coal, human artifacts are found. This bell was found inside a lump of coal. This iron pot was found inside a lump of coal. The sole of a shoe found inside a lump of coal. But the Bible says there were herbs, that's plants, over all the earth. It's not that way today. 70% of the earth is underwater. The earth was covered with plants when God made it. Did you know they find leaves in Antarctica? The Bible says before the flood came, they lived to be over 900 years old and probably didn't wrinkle.
probably just talking to a tree right now.
Yes, just imagine our world before the flood. We came from an ingenious place, and the next world will be even better. In fact, we live in a zero continuum. We just have here this reality and this fractal time inside, but we never left this timeless, wonderful place, and we will soon trigger our own creation. Give the answer to who was God. It just runs backwards in time. It's symmetric, it's an echo. This is the chicken-egg solution. Who was first? So you could say God's mode is part of evolution. In order to get along with the information, what follows and where it came from, we first have to step above polarity. Be aware that many of our words and language is part of the polar world. For some, God and devil is inverse. I use the term God for omnipotence. You are creator, oneness. And recognizing that you're also what you are not. The expansion that follows was caused because I just had to look what the guy who posted this "no forests on flat earth" else has to say. And I found remarkable things. But I can't quote the source. It's mixed along with what you would call conspiracy all in. You know, this bad zionistic world order and they will kill us all and things like that. For me, there is nothing like conspiracy. Illuminati are also family. It's interesting, they were even founded in Regensburg. It all will balance out. Interestingly, after I was some days in, maybe I won't share it because of the complicated source. I went into hyperspace and suddenly felt love for Hitler. Felt his heart like a child's. And realized that we all will find love and peace with him. With everything. Our worst case mapping of consciousness will soon dissolve. Polarity is a game once you understood unity. So I can stumble into something, fly over it, pick out the sparkles. The unleashing stories are just a sign of our ending separation. Lies become transparent, this is the effect. You can easily skip this panic and chaos before revival part. For me, the process of global metamorphosis has already happened. We just live in the time dilation before. This 5D awareness is amazing. Soon I'm finished with reading LucidDream, what somehow feels like translating the language of plants. The last third of the book was already done and written before this latest part. So before going offline and off-grid, backdrawn connected, the next part is something like the last thing I want to give on the way. Electro-Universe, secret of 369, and why I want to learn to think in runes. How it could be that our language confusion constantly causes our DNA to produce this 95% junk. Words are magic. Cymatic universe. Unleash your power. So this was not really a lot. So I found the perfect musical afterlude coming from Space Night, and it's called Home Base. Earth from space without curvature.